kind of like, maybe we're not the best people to do this kind of thing.
Like if I was an artist, do I have to be able to mass produce my items?
Also, that was the moment that I realized that social media actually, something comes out of it.
What is your goal in all of this? Like, isn't it funny how when you say that, you almost feel like, I gotta downplay this. Like, I'm not allowed to make profit. It seems wrong. It feels wrong, but it's not. You can have a labor of love and also make money from it. Hey, everybody. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Jennifer Goulden of Entourage Media and Marketing. I have the pleasure of marketing some of my favorite companies in Waterloo region and surrounding area, and even into the States occasionally. I'm definitely a self-confessed serial entrepreneur. So I've created 4 businesses in my life, and some have just been a paycheck. Some have gone on to make millions in sales, and I'm super proud of those. I'm actually super proud of all of them. But the thing that I love most is the climb and comparing stories with other entrepreneurs and finding out what they're doing and how they did it, which led me to creating the Entrepreneur Life community here in Waterloo region. And today we are talking to a very cool, very local entrepreneur, Joyce of KWarterly, and that's KWarterly. Hi, Joyce.
Hello.
How are you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
Pretty good. I found you on Instagram originally. I saw one of your boxes go out. So for those of you who don't know, KWarterly is curated gift boxes.
So we are a local subscription box that makes it easy to support and discover local. So every season we put out a curated themed box. Our themes vary from season to season, and we try to put locally sourced products in every box, and that could be products from local vendors. It could be highlighting local businesses, and it's 100% locally sourced right here in Waterloo region.
That's amazing. Now, what made you even think to do something like this?
KWarterly had a funny kind of journey. It didn't start off like the idea kind of came through from a different idea. A couple of friends of mine were talking about opening up a brick and mortar store, and it was for something completely different, but still kind of had like a local vibe to it. But then that kind of fell through as like things kind of happen when you start researching, and then you're kind of like, maybe we're not the best people to do this kind of thing. And then from that idea, it kind of like birthed this, like, what if I made a subscription box with like a local, like 100% local kind of theme around it. And then it kind of grew from there. And yeah, now we have KWarterly.
So is it run just by you, or is it run by you and the friends that you're talking about?
It is just me, but I consider them to be my, I don't know.
Sounding board?
Kind of, yeah. Like I like to toss ideas off of them, and I definitely value their opinions when I need a second one. So yeah, it's all run by me, but I definitely take their wisdom from time to time on ideas and, hey, would this look cool in a box? And yeah.
So what would be an example of something that would come in a box? So you actually have a box that is, I'm just checking out your website here, which is, for those of you listening, KWarterly, so KWarterly.com. And you've got a whole list of kind of things that you can expect, but you also have a box coming out for fall, September 22nd. And I know that they sell out just about every single time, which is amazing. You said this is just your side hustle, right?
Yes. So they sell out. Yeah. It's the first boxes didn't sell out, but now we're starting to sell out. So yeah, it's pretty exciting. The things that you can expect from them really vary. So the thing about subscription boxes is that usually, you know, when people subscribe to these kinds of things, they always have like a theme, like you're subscribing to like a hair box or like a beard box or a dog box, and they all kind of.
Yes, I get the bark box.
Yeah, right. Yeah. So you're always like expecting to get the same kind of theme or stuff that you're like subscribing to, right? But with KWarterly, it's always different. But we try with every season to have like a theme so that the items in the box are kind of like harmonized together, and it's not just like a box of like random stuff. So our first box was last year in the summertime, and that theme was a call to adventure. And the theme on that one was encouraging people to like go outside and go explore Waterloo region, go to some of the local parks that we have here. It came with like a little mini backpack. It came with some beeswax wraps, with the goal of kind of being like, when you go outside, try not to leave like a trail, right? Be eco about it.
Right.
So that was kind of the theme on that one. And then for the fall box for last year, the theme was to good company, and it was all about like hosting a dinner for friends and family, kind of like a
I
Thanksgiving.
love that idea.
Yeah, so it was like a Thanksgiving style theme, kind of like coming together for the last harvest. um and then there was the winter box, which was the theme was called Sorry I'm Busy, and it was all about like taking care of yourself, taking time for just you, maybe have like little gifts for yourself during the holidays. So yeah, and there's everything from like candles to we had like a toque in that one from a
Of
local,
course.
yeah, like a local knitter who knitted us some toques to put in there. Yeah, the items just really vary. There's so much talent and just awesome people in this community that are doing everything from like soaps and candles to toques and scarves to I don't even know. Like the themes are just, there's so many things that we can play with and highlight and support that I just have fun coming up with all the themes.
And I love that you're tapping into that, because Waterloo region nowadays is known as sort of this northern Silicon Valley, this tech capital or triangle. But we have a lot of artists, and I think in our roots there was a lot more art than people even really realized, especially when you kind of feed into the fact that we're surrounded by St. Jacobs and all of those like little areas where there's tons of art coming into the area from there. So
Absolutely.
it's great that you're kind of giving, artists a voice and a way to kind of reach out to the community.
Yeah, that's actually the thing that I enjoyed the most. So one thing that we do at Quarterly is when we send out a box, we also send out like a survey that says, hey, this is all the stuff that you got in it. What did you think of it? And then all the feedback that we get back, good or bad, I actually send it back to the vendors and I say, hey, this is what everybody thought about it. And then most of the time it's just people that say like, hey, I never knew this thing existed. I'm really happy that I got it. Or I'm glad that I got introduced to this product. They found a new customer from me or whatever.
Oh,
so
that's great.
That's the kind of stuff that I'm like, yay, it's working.
Is that why you did this, was to provide a new kind of lead source or client source for artists? Or are you an artist?
No.
How did that even happen?
So my day job is a software developer. So going back into
so you're just trying to break out of exactly what you do 9 to 5.
Well, it was interesting because I still really enjoy my full-time job right now. I do enjoy being a developer and doing that. But this just stemmed from something of like, I wanted to try it and I wanted to do it. And it was something that I wish kind of existed when I first moved here, because I'm originally from Ottawa. And I would have loved to just have a box that like showed me what like talent and things
like
existed
the old school
in the area.
Welcome wagon.
Yeah,
yeah.
That's what I keep hearing, that there used to be this like welcome wagon box. It doesn't exist anymore, but I'm like,
Not
that
really.
is kind of what I'm doing.
Yeah, that's so cool. Yeah, so it's like a modern day welcome wagon, because welcome wagon dates back to, I don't know how long they've been around, but it's been a long time. So this is kind of a modern spin on that, which is very cool.
Exactly, yeah.
So how do you meet the artist then? How do you choose? Like if I was an artist, how would I get into your box? Like how would I do that? And do I have to be able to mass produce my items, or what numbers are you looking at?
Yeah, so nowadays I meet everybody on Zoom because COVID. But it really depends. So I have a separate vendor newsletter that I tell vendors and businesses to sign up for when I first meet them, especially if I don't really know like what the themes are going to be. I just say, hey, like sign up for the newsletter. And then if I come up with any ideas, I'll send out like a blast being like, hey, this is the fall theme I'm thinking about. Do you think your product fits? Yes, no. Or this is what I'm looking for. If you think that your product fits in this in a way that I don't really know, like let's talk, let's have a conversation. Other
That
times, like
must be a lot of back and forth depending on how big your list of artists is.
sometimes,
Yeah.
and then sometimes, yeah, it's a matter of like, hey, sorry, someone got here before you, but like I've written your name down and I'm thinking about you or whatever. Other times I'll actually go out and I'll search for people. Like for this particular box, I had an idea to put a gift card for a particular store in there. So I had reached out to them and I'm like, hey, do you want to be in it? Because I really think that like you fit the theme or whatever. But yeah, it really depends. And then in terms of like numbers, we're still like really flexible with things because we're dealing with local vendors. um, our numbers can really fluctuate. Like
Right.
sometimes, you know, if we're putting things like soaps and candles in that, like sure, like we could do like a bunch more boxes because they just kind of like set it and forget it.
But
Uh,
toques and
but like people
handmade
right,
items.
exactly. So like when we have like knitters or quilters or what have you in there where their throughput is a little bit lower, then our boxes become a little bit more exclusive in that we're only able to do like 40 boxes this time around, or you know. So yeah, our numbers really fluctuate.
Right. And do you have a goal? Like, do you want it to be more boxes, or are you happy with sometimes it's exclusive because that's what you got to do? What is your goal
Yeah,
in all of this?
I don't know. So like obviously everybody wants to see their like empire grow. But right now, like I if that happens, like I would have to end up in a scenario where I'm gonna have to pick like, do I do this full time? Because once you start hitting like the hundreds of boxes, that becomes a full-time thing. Like right now it's
Right.
just myself packing these boxes, and if I need help from time to time I can ask my friends to come help pack some boxes with me.
Just add some champagne or something and put
Right,
them
yeah,
in the
like you'll get
garage and make
some
it
free
like a
pizza,
weekend party.
yeah.
Pizza party, yeah.
But like yeah, I would love to do like way more boxes. Right now everything is kind of like scheduled and limited and exclusive in the sense where subscription spots will only I only allow like certain subscription spots, and then from there on everything is purchased like on a per box basis. And then if I feel like we can do a bit
So
more,
that
then
it's
I
still open to the public, you mean, to a certain degree?
to a
Is
certain
that
degree.
why?
So there are people who have subscribed and they've subscribed to receive every box for the year because they love the boxes so
Well,
much
exactly,
and
yeah.
they want to support local. And then there's people who, you know, are still on the fence and might still want to try it out, but don't want to commit to like a yearly subscription. So they can buy the boxes on a per box basis. But like on that case, like I always make sure that there's obviously enough for the subscribers, and then anything we can make extra is what's going to be like on the per box basis. So
Right.
I'm slowly like increasing the subscription limit each time,
Mhm.
but I'm still kind of trying to find that sweet spot of like what's a number that all vendors can hit.
And that's tough. Like, have you ever done where maybe the toque person can only do 20, but then you have a quilt person that can fill up the other 20 of the 40 boxes? Have you ever mixed and matched, or is it always the same box for everybody?
So far it's been the same vendors in each one. That's definitely something that I've thought about, but with subscription boxes you try to keep things like the same for everybody so that everybody has the same experience, and that's something that I'm trying to maintain.
Yeah,
But
and
who
that's
knows, like if
great.
we end up in that point where, you know,
Because
we're
you want
growing
to
so.
let the artist stay small. You don't want to, you're not going to, well, I mean, you might, but you're not really, your goal is not to go to Michael's and get, 200 items of something. You're kind of looking for artisans who handmade type,
Right.
all of the items. So you want to get big, but you don't want to get big. You want to allow the artist to stay small while your business also grows.
Yeah, it's weird. It's kind of a weird business model.
It's a very cool one, though. I love it. And I think there's such a need for that. I love that somebody took the time to do it, because I can only imagine that there's a lot of scouting, a lot of back and forth, a lot of just trying to organize all of those variables, because you're right. Every artist is different in how much they can produce and what theme they could fit into, all of that kind of stuff.
Yeah, it's
So
fun.
you you said it's just a side hustle, so you just like emails and stuff on the weekends, or
Yeah, so basically I set up like a time in my day where I'll be like, all right, this is the day where I go and I look at things. It's very important for me to like make sure that my day job isn't creeping into my hobby time because I'm obviously supposed to be on the clock 9 to 5 on my regular job.
And now that you're
So
probably, are you working from home with COVID?
yes,
Okay, so
that's the
you
good thing
really
about
have to
tech.
be disciplined now.
So I actually have like two different rooms that I'm working out of. So it actually makes things a little bit better. So this is my like quarterly room. And then I have like my other room where I have my like work laptop. So I'm
That is
not,
brilliant.
I'm not tempted to like come in this room and be like, I wonder what emails I have.
That's really good. You're very self-disciplined, but then you're a coder, so it totally makes sense.
Yeah, that's true.
So when did this start? It's fairly recent.
It's fairly recent. I started basically January of last year. So it was kind of like a brainchild in like November of 2018. And
Okay.
then it officially started becoming a thing where I couldn't let go of the idea. And I'm like, I have to do this. Like, I need to see if this is like legit a thing. And I started doing my research and talking to vendors and going to markets and seeing like what it was like for them and all of that kind of stuff. And then so that was like January, February, and I was like making the website, trying to figure out like branding and all the stuff that I didn't really like think about until people were bringing it up to me. And I was like, oh yeah, maybe I should have a logo and all those things.
Right, because you thought, well, I'll build this great idea, but then you're like, oh wait, I gotta
Yeah,
market.
all of
I
these
have to
things
like
started being
do
like,
stuff.
yeah, exactly. But luckily I had friends that were like really good with that stuff and kind of like helped steer me in the right direction. So
And your website is nice. Did you do that yourself?
yeah, that was one of the pros of being having some tech skills.
Right. Yeah, no, it's really nice. It's to the point. It shows off what you do. It's great.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it went through like a couple of reviews where it'd be like, guys, look at this website I made. Please just bash it and tell me what's
Yeah.
wrong with
Brutal
it.
truth. Brutal
Yeah,
truth.
exactly.
Yeah.
I had a friend help me with like the logo and designs. Like she's super talented with that kind of stuff. I kind of like gave her, when I looked back, actually, I was looking at my old folders to see like what my personal designs were. And I was like, oh no, how did she make this out of what I showed her?
Oh my God. I wish I'd known that ahead of time. I would have made you bring it to the interview.
She just like made everything look so like concise and like just polished.
Professional and polished. Yeah.
So she helped me out with that kind of stuff and like made me start thinking about things like branding and colors and logos and blah blah blah.
Right. All the fun
Yeah.
stuff. Well,
All
fun
the fun
stuff if
stuff.
you're me, but you just want, you're in it for the mission, like the connecting artists with the humans in the community that need to know about them.
Yeah, the fun part for me is definitely coming up with the themes and trying to pick items
And
together.
they're great themes. Like,
thank you.
You obviously have a creative mind, even though you're a coder. No offense.
Well,
But usually
coders
it's like
are super
right,
creative.
it's like left brain, right brain. It depends, I guess, what kind of coder you are.
That's true.
Yeah.
I've always definitely been like creative in that kind of sense. But yeah, I don't know. I definitely enjoy doing this. So
Now, have you always been a bit entrepreneurial? Like when you were a kid, did you have a lemonade stand? Did you always know that you would make some
yeah,
money under your own name?
kind of. Like growing up, I always wanted to like own my own something. I always wanted to like that was kind of like a goal. I always imagined myself being the boss of something or like a manager even. I just wanted to have something that I knew inside and out and it was mine.
It had your stamp on it,
It had
right?
my stamp on it.
So now, obviously, COVID hit right around the time that your spring box would have gone out.
So yeah, the spring box came out like right before the state of emergency stuff all happened.
Great timing.
But, one thing that kind of sucked was that it was kind of bound to happen with how things ended up with COVID. But one thing that like comes with the boxes is sometimes you like to advertise like cool events that are happening in town and like they all got canceled. And it was unfortunate because in the spring box, the Grand River Film Festival, which is like this amazing festival that happens every year here in town, gave us some passes and it was so amazing. And then unfortunately, this is like the first year that they've had to cancel in a long time. So that was kind of a bummer.
Yeah, because I actually saw that sometimes you send out tickets to items to local events in the box, which I think is the coolest idea ever.
Yeah, so that one was kind of a bummer because people weren't able to enjoy that. And like obviously it sucks for Grand River Film Festival too, but they went out, but I was like, oh no.
Yeah, well, I'm sure they knew, right? The whole
Yeah.
world, it was a totally different set of rules.
Yeah, but I think people still enjoyed it, and obviously people were still very understanding of the situation. And at the time, nobody really knew that it was going to be August and this was still going to happen. So
No, we're like 1 month, two
yeah,
months
let's
tops. We can
maybe.
do it. It'll be fine.
We hear that the virus doesn't really like the heat. So like
Yeah,
once July
I
comes, then
remember
we're
that
good.
rumor. Those were the good days.
The good old days. So yeah, it didn't really like affect the boxes themselves, but the contents and the events kind of got canceled. But
Yeah. Well, it doesn't seem to have slowed you down at all, which is great. And the
no.
fact that you only have to do this 4 times a year is also a very cool business model. So you have
Uh,
some separation and some planning time in between.
That's what I thought, but it turns out that I'm constantly working on this. So
And that might be because you can't, like when you get the bug and you're just something just, flows for you, it's hard to stop. You find
it's
yourself
true.
just working on it because you love it.
Well, that's the thing, right? Like sometimes inspiration strikes and you have to go with it or else it's gone, right? Especially with like theme ideas and constantly talking to vendors.
Hmm.
Like I'm talking to vendors like 3 months into the next one because I need to make sure that
They need time
uh,
to make the items.
inventory
Oh
and
my
everything
God.
exactly. So like as one box is finishing up, I'm already in fall and winter mode right now, even though my brain is like, no, summer, don't think about snow yet.
Right. Well, how long do artists need in general if they have to make, you said, what is your smallest run? 40 boxes, you said?
Probably right now we're around like 30 is our smallest run.
Okay.
Yeah.
So for an artist to do 30 items in a theme, how far in advance are you planning that?
It depends. It really does.
Like how long do they need to make 30 toques?
It depends, right?
Mm.
So again, like someone who's like a candle maker already has like a full stock, and I just have to ask them. And like sometimes they'll make me a fresh batch, or sometimes they'll already have some. In the
Mm.
fall box, little exclusive hint over here, we're gonna have like a jam in there, so they already have like a bunch of jam ready to go. So I just told them how much I
Awesome.
needed, and they just give it.
That's
Um,
amazing.
but yeah, if I start deciding that the winter box theme should have like a knitted item, then I have to start working on that ASAP on contacting like vendors who can do that. So usually everybody's pretty good at having like at least 3 weeks notice to do output like a 30.
Okay,
Um,
good. Right.
and I try to give everybody at least that much time. Like the conversation would have already started by that point. I would have already given them the low ball number. And then we'll kind of like decide. Right now, we're kind of in low numbers because it's like COVID. And for example, our summer box had a quilter in there, and obviously all the fabric stores were closed.
Oh my
So we
God.
just have to work with the fabric that she had at home.
Mhm.
So obviously those numbers kind of affected how
So
many boxes we could output.
so she'll be sending out quilted face masks in the next one.
Well, she's actually making face masks right now, actually.
Yeah, I
But for
bet.
the summer box, we had snack bags in there, so she just made snack bags out of the material she had available. And she's like, "All right, if you want this many, this is the cloth I have available." And I'm like, "All right, let's do it."
You know what? That's seriously cool. I would love a handmade snack bag that was made by someone local, because how kitschy is that?
Yeah.
And where would you ever think to buy that?
Right. And like
Yeah,
the thing too with a lot of these vendors is that like these are people who are making quality products. They care about the stuff that they make. And if there's something wrong with it, they want people to come back to them and be like, "Hey, can I have another one cuz something happened with this one?" If that
right.
ever happens. Versus like these mass produced ones in the stores that come with all of these extra materials that you probably like when you see like eco products and they're wrapped in like plastic and you're like, "Why am I buying this?"
I know. I
Like
know. Like organic stuff that's wrapped in a bag, which is then put in a plastic box. And
right, exactly. So, and honestly, a lot of the like mass produced stuff is just ripped off from vendors anyways. So,
that is so true. So when you started this entrepreneur question here, um, how did you market it? Did you just hang your sign, hang your shingle, and people came? Or did you spend money on advertising? Did you network? What did you do to
Um,
get your first? And what was your first run? Like,
so when I started, I was actually going to the Makers Collective, which is a meetup here in KW for makers and vendors to come and just talk about what it's like
are
to be
you a
like
maker?
I'm not a
Like,
maker, but I was going there. I was infiltrating and I was like
secret
talking.
spy.
I was spying on them. Um, but it's just a place for people to come and like unwind and talk and socialize and network. So I started there to kind of do my interviews and see like, hey, if somebody were to do this box, what would you say about something like that? So I kind of started there, and then I kind of made friends in that circle. And then when I was finally ready to launch, I actually like brought the box there and I was like, what do you guys think? And I got some feedback from it that way. And then social media, I made friends with people who have lots of followers.
Smart.
And was
Influencers.
like, hey, if you don't mind, can I give you like a free box and then you can post this thing for me?
Yeah, or do an unboxing or something
Yeah,
like that,
exactly.
right?
So my tech wardrobe did that for me. She has like, I don't even know how many followers she has, but she was super cool about it.
Awesome.
And I also, that was the moment that I realized that social media actually, like, something comes out of it.
Other than just sucking up all your time.
Just like then people just posting things. I remember at that time, like I only had like 100 followers. And by the time people like my tech wardrobe and curated KW made like posts and stories about me, I just saw that like I was getting all these followers all of a sudden, and I was like, "What? This stuff really works."
That's great. That's so good.
So that's kind of how I started off, and then it was mostly word of mouth and getting people to talk about it and share. Um, I was actually going to there was like an event, and sorry, I'm like blanking on the event name right now, but I had gone out and I was just talking to people, and I had my box with me, and I was
Oh, like a
trying,
craft show or something. The
kind of,
craft shows
yeah.
would be perfect for you.
Yeah, so I would like go and I would show the box to people, and then people would ask questions, and I would make sure they followed me on Instagram or whatever. I did try to do a little bit of like the Instagram advertising stuff. I didn't really think that stuff worked, to be honest. At least not for me.
Well, and it probably depends on what you did for an advertisement too, right?
Yeah, it's kind of weird for me personally because like most of my clients are in this area, whereas the targeted ad stuff I find works better if you want people worldwide to know about you. um like because I only really wanted clients in KW, I found that like it was actually just better to network with people from the area than have to rely on like Facebook or Instagram ads to make sure my ad is being shown in this area, if that makes sense.
Right. Well, and Facebook is really good at targeting geographically. So you could definitely target just KW area, but you have to also then find, okay, how do I get people in KW that are interested in local artisans? And like, it's really all about not just the content of the ad. So, it has to be a fun ad, probably a video ad. And then you have to target right. And so there's lots of test marketing and test and measure and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And you weren't looking for like 1,000 people to buy boxes.
No.
So if you had advertised and, say got 30 bookings in a week or two, that's pretty much your season.
Basically right now.
Right. Yeah.
But right now too, I'm kind of at the point now where even though we're making like our boxes are steadily increasing, I kind of want it to be more important to highlight what's in the boxes on social media. So like even though like a vendor was like, let's say in like 30 boxes versus like the 40 that another vendor was in, they still got the same kind of exposure that everybody else got through social media and their highlight posts and all that stuff. So
so you're going to add that as part of the services that you're providing to them.
Oh yeah, that's already part of it. Like we try to take nice pictures of things. We make sure that through the month or through the season, We kind of stalk them on Instagram and make sure that we're posting anything that they're posting. So if they have like a sale or something, we'll make sure to highlight it. If they have a new product, we'll make sure to like post about that as well.
That's pretty amazing.
So we
So
kind of stalk them.
are you reselling their items, or are they donating their items?
It depends. So I try really hard to work with wholesale pricing. I kind of have the motto where it's like, if it costs you money to make something, I'm going to pay you for it because I charge for these boxes. So the boxes retail for $45, and that $45 is kind of like split amongst how many vendors I can fit into the box. And we try to fit like around 5 vendors in each box.
Right.
Sometimes if the item is like really expensive, usually those are like donated to us. Like a lot of event tickets and stuff like that are donated. Yeah, it depends. I try really hard to pay for things that are made by like artists and vendors and makers. If it's a service or something like that, usually it's donated. But yeah.
Right, right. Because there has to be something in it for you for all of the work that this takes. There needs to be a profit margin for you. So it needs to provide a service, but also profit at some point. So have you reached that point yet where you're making money off of the boxes, or is that still kind of a goal?
It depends. It depends on the seasons. Sometimes I get a little bit. Sometimes I decide to just like invest the profit that I made from the other box in this box so that I could put another person in it, or so.
That's how you know you love what you're doing. It's not just about the money.
It really isn't, and that's kind of the good thing of having like the full-time job that I have right now, is that this really is just like a labor of love right now. I'm not really gonna die if I don't make money off of these. Like, I'm in the green with every box, but I'm at the point right now where I'd rather just keep investing in the boxes, and maybe come up with different ideas where I could profit a little bit more from it. But I really want these subscription boxes to be about supporting local, because that's what I think people are getting when they buy these boxes. Like, they bought a box and you just supported 5 people right there. You know,
right?
I mean?
It's like a community in a box.
Exactly.
A community economy in a box.
Yeah, exactly. And I really want, I really want it to just be something where vendors feel comfortable with, not just kind of like, okay, you were already in this box, you can't be in it again or whatever. It's really a conversation. I want those relationships to continue, and
of course.
Yeah, I don't know. So no, I'm not really profiting, but
it's okay to profit. Like, isn't it funny how when you say that, you almost feel like, I gotta downplay this. Like, I'm not allowed to make profit. It seems wrong. It feels wrong, but it's not. You can have a labor of love and also make money from it.
That's true. Yeah, but it's definitely something where that's not the goal right now. It probably should be, but like,
well, at some point it will need to be. Maybe. Otherwise, you'll burn out, and what will happen is the really cool idea will just die on the table.
That's very true. If we ever get to the point where we're doing like hundreds of these, I definitely have to relook at my model for sure.
Oh, yeah.
But for now, like, I don't know. I like reinvesting in it, and I like that we're able to support so many people in like one box.
So in the future, you said that, it's kind of a labor of love right now. What do you see like a year or two down the road? Do you think you'll kind of just keep going like this, or you will let it organically grow and try to meet demand, or do you want to keep it small?
I think about this a lot. I think I definitely have to expand, and I have ideas of things that I can do. One thing that's interesting is that when I first started this, I did a ton of research, and I was like, does this exist? And the answer was no. But ever since COVID hit, there's like 7 more of these types of things that have started popping up, and people are looking
in the local area, or just
in the local area alone. So now I'm like, okay, well, maybe I can start exploring different avenues if other people are also kind of trying to do this. So I think it's like opening up a little bit, and I think people are kind of realizing that everybody wants to support local if they can, right?
Well, they probably saw your idea and went, oh my God, that's very cool. Let's do this, but for you know, whatever topic it is that they specialize in, like
Right.
beauty or health or whatever.
Right. So I don't know. I have a bunch of ideas of things that I can add on top of the subscription boxes. But it's just a matter of like time, and do I have the time to do it? So
Well, and the thing too is what's kind of cool about yours is it's super simple. If you want a box, it's $45.
yeah.
If you want a subscription and you're lucky enough to, you know, ask at a time when there's actually a spot for that, then it's $42.50 or whatever.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's very simple, cut and dry. You're not trying to make a gazillion dollars. I wouldn't change a thing. I would maybe do more of them, but you know, that's the entrepreneur in me. I want to do 250
oh my
boxes.
gosh. I'm sure like all the soap makers and the candle makers are like, yes, I want you to do 200 boxes for me.
Oh, I'm sure they do. And then of course the toque makers are like, are you kidding me? 250 hats?
Yeah, exactly.
So, I mean, there's no real way to do that with handmade artisans, really. You would have to split it up. So you get 20 boxes with toques and 20 boxes with belts and so on and so forth, right?
Yeah, I think the subscriptions are probably going to stay the same, but eventually I will be branching out into different things, like I don't know, just a different type of thing that still supports local, but in a more massive kind of way, I guess.
Right.
But until then, I'm still just gonna like stick with these boxes and have fun with them. Because like with every box too, I'm networking, right? Like with every box, I'm meeting vendors and I'm hearing their stories and I'm figuring out like what can work and what can't work, right? So
right, and that'll probably provide new opportunities within that space, you know, now and in the future for sure.
Yes.
Yeah.
Just like everybody who's been discovering it and like loving it is probably my biggest win right now. Is just anytime somebody gets it and loves it, I'm just like, yes.
You must be so proud.
I'm super proud, even though
awesome.
I've made nothing in the box.
It doesn't matter.
I'm just like, I'm so proud.
Was there any moments where you're like, oh my God, what was I thinking?
I think it's still too early for me to have said that there's like a massive failure. Like definitely when I look at my like early designs, probably.
We'll make you show your logo next time.
Oh my gosh, I probably still have like the old website and what it used to look like.
Oh, that'd be hilarious. Have you ever heard of Wayback Machine?
Oh yeah. Oh, it wasn't online yet though.
Darn it.
Yeah, it wasn't online. I wouldn't do that.
I would so pull that up.
No, it wasn't published yet.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely when we were doing the summer box, I definitely fell in the trap of getting ahead of myself though. Because when I started this, I was just like, start small, let's grow organically.
Which is smart when it's a side hustle.
Right. I really wanted it to be like, what can you do and stick to it? And I definitely kind of fell into like a trap of being like, how do I make this box the best box that ever was a box? And then kind of went over budget on that one. But I don't know if I would call it a failure, but it was definitely, I fell into a trap on that one.
Yeah, thank God for credit cards.
Yeah. I don't know. I think I haven't utterly failed yet.
No, it doesn't sound like it, which is so not normal for the first couple of years of entrepreneurship, really.
But it's also really small scale, like.
That's true.
Yeah.
There's not a lot of room to fail for you.
Yeah, I am trying to be really smart about organically growing and not, getting more than I can do.
Is that if someone was listening and you wanted them to either contact you as an artist or contact you for a box, what would you tell them? Where do they go? What do they click on? What social channels?
So they can go on my website. There's a contact page and you can contact me either as a vendor, and it's KWarterly.com. There's a page right at the top that says contact, and you can contact me either as a vendor or just like a general question. Social media, absolutely. Instagram, you could either directly message me.
Would you say Instagram sort of your home base?
I would say probably yes. I think most of the people who have discovered me has been through Instagram.
Right.
But yeah, I don't know. I'm pretty easy to contact. Definitely the website's probably the easiest. there's a specific vendor page on the website too for people to check out and get an idea of how things work.
Well, you've been a fun interview and it's a very cool product. I look forward to kind of watching as you either grow or just maintain and charge more, or whatever it is you choose to do in your entrepreneur journey, and just support the local community, especially now, oh my God, after everyone's just suffering with, trying to operate during pandemic and now post pandemic, or at least phase 3, whatever you want to call it.
It's tragic. It's absolutely tragic. And I think that's, again, why we're seeing so many more of these local initiatives, is because people are realizing that, like, hey, your favorite place might not survive if you don't do something about it.
Not only that, the people that you deal with, likely their bread and butter was craft shows, and the craft shows stopped dead.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And I've seen a couple try to go online, but they did it really bad. They did it it was not an effective way of taking an event and putting it online. And so I don't think the crafters really got much from it, unfortunately. So, I mean, when you rely on that and it's gone,
it's been really tough for everybody, for sure. But,
so
we help out where we can.
Yeah, this is a little bright light and an alternative for them. So
yes, exactly.